Hey gamers, Cannon Fodder here, and today I have a review for Forza Horizon 3. But before I get started, I want to have a mini rant about the flustercuck that is Windows 10. To start with, Forza 3 will not run without the Windows 10 Anniversary Update, and unfortunately for me, Windows 10 Anniversary Update corrupted my SSD when I tried to install it. It made it so impossible that I couldn't even reinstall Windows 10 with the USB ISO. Not even the Windows Support Tech could do it when I allowed them to hijack my PC, using the same methods, might I add, that I used in the forums. But my rage eventually won out, and I got Windows 10 to install on a new hard drive that is not the SSD I originally had, because apparently that has issues with installing to it. Then came the task of using the Xbox Anywhere app, where unless your Xbox One is on and logged into the same live account and up to date, and the Xbox app been running on your PC, then and only then will you be allowed to install the game. Otherwise, it's considered a part of a bundle. My conclusion here is that for all their bluster about in it for the gamers, that Microsoft has no clue as to what gamers actually want, and that is for the game to be on Steam so we don't have to worry about all this hoop jumping bullshit. However, the title says Forza Horizon 3 reviews, so let's do that. Forza Horizon 3 places you squarely into a reimagined Australia where the moment you start to drive has the familiar feeling to anyone who has been to places like the areas depicted in the game. And considering the geographically challenged devs have somehow placed Byron Bay just south of the Great Ocean Road and the Gold Coast so close to the north that in real life I'd barely make it out of first gear, the map feels surprisingly large and authentic to the environments. The Byron Coast feels like the Byron Coast from 15 years ago, before all the elitist millionaires moved in and bought up all the beachfront real estate, and the rainforest feel damp and dense like the rainforest should. The outback takes just long enough to drive to that, like in real life, you decide balls to this and head back towards the coast, and the Gold Coast is the only city in the game, and although it's reimagined, well, I like to think of it as improved, has the feel of the sun, surf, and the hard bodies everywhere. Including the 12 Apostles as an icon of Australia makes a nice change from something like the Sydney Harbour Bridge or the Opera House, and like the other biomes, it offers a glimpse of the natural beauty of the great land of Oz. The map textures and models are nothing short of amazing, given that this is an open world where driving anywhere is possible without any loading screens at all. Although there are loading screens for races, I did not notice a jump in the graphical fidelity, which I guess is not all that important given how good the game looks already. I'm not sure if it's because I've had nothing but disappointing experiences with new released games from AAA developers lately, but in my opinion this game is really well optimised. I get an extremely solid 60 frames a second at 1080p with all my settings at Ultra, which hasn't happened in a long time. Even driving from a distance towards what I consider a large city in a game, the Gold Coast doesn't drop any of my frames per second at all. Forza has always been a mixed bag of AI drivers where for no reason at all you occasionally get a competitor drivatar slam on the brakes in the middle of a straight, causing you to rear end the poor bastard, sending you both flying and ruining your race. It's for this reason that I imagine the rewind function was implemented. Well, that and pretty shit driving. But it seems this happens less regularly than it has in the past, and for the most part you can attack the corners with relative confidence in that the drivatar will race it properly, unless the drivatar's real life player is an asshat that thinks they're still playing Need for Speed 1. The AI in general for the non-race cars on the road behave as most people would and move the hell out of the way if they think they're going to collide with you. So I guess with this, if we see it as a kind of like AI evolution, then the future patches will hopefully improve upon this and make it much better for everyone involved. The pure amount of cars to choose from in this game is frankly mind-boggling. Currently there are over 350 cars to choose from $1 million luxury races to off-road buggies, and I believe I heard in the rumour mill that there is a plethora of more cars to be added in future patches, but I guess we'll have to find out in time if this is true. In the current cars, however, there is no shortage of fun to be had, where as long as you can afford it, find it, or win it, you can race it in any of the set races you like. For instance, one of my favourite races I had was racing the buggies through the streets of the Gold Coast, and that's something you probably never see in real life or in a game as a set race. The cars also look the part, where the developers have done a great job of modelling the smallest details of each and every make and model of it. In particular, the detail has gone into recreating the Holden Sandman Shaggin' Wagon is just awesome. But to screw up something like that in a game based in Australia with cars would be career suicide. Speaking of suicide, driving with all the assists off in a Holden HSV tricked out to the max is just that, suicide. Which makes it pretty lucky that there's all sorts of options to play around with for your car control to suit your skill level. and if you still can't find the perfect balance, then playing with the tuning in game can also give you the edge over your opponents. The car control in this edition of Forza is not what you'd expect from a Forza franchise game, but as it's advertised as an arcade sim, I guess what they mean is that it's not, say, as hardcore as Project Cars or Assetto Corsa, but also not as arcadey as what the Crew unfortunately was. And in all honesty, I think they hit a pretty good middle ground where you have a decent number of options to adjust your car's handling to make it, as arcadey or real as you want. I know what you're thinking. Where are the negative comments, Canon? Well, in all honesty, I struggle to find any. But I guess the method of installation and the game being exclusive to Microsoft Store can be a sore point, especially if it tanks your PC or continuously cuts you off from the Microsoft distribution servers, causing your reload to start over every time. But the game itself runs as a AAA release should, perfectly, so I guess the other devs should take note and aspire to have bug-free releases in the future. The entertainment value of this game has been awesome. I'm up to 80 hours of game time and still going. The big problem here is though, there are several other titles coming out and I want to play them all. So that's my input, but if you have a different experience to mine or have had issues in the running of the game, then drop a comment below. Also, if you've had similar issues as I did getting mine to run, then just again drop a comment below and I'll endeavour to help you where I can. For now, that's all I have for you, so keep being awesome and catch you in the next one.